Hello, Angela Coté here, and I am excited to bring you Fiona Styant, Director of Franchise Development for MOLLY MAID Canada, and Steve Collette, franchisor and co-founder of Third Degree Training and East Brands. We're going to talk today about innovation in franchising, which is really such an interesting topic because we want to in franchising stick to what we know and get really good at what we know and what works, but at the same time we need to keep up with the times. And sometimes franchisees want that innovation, and then some fear it and resist change. So this is going to be a really interesting conversation. And the reason I know this is because I've been on both the franchisor side of the franchisee relationship as well as the franchisee side with the family business M&M Food Market. And we, over the years, company started in 1980, and we had to be innovative while not changing the concept too much, but also stay innovative in front of the customer. And we didn't want to lose our identity, but we had to maintain our competitive advantage. So I'm really excited to hear from Fiona and Steve some of the things that they've done to stay innovative. And just a side note, I want to mention I'm honored to guest host this interview as I'm a huge fan of the CFA and all the amazing work that the team does to create community, provide education, and advocate to protect the franchise model for us in franchising. So I'm excited about that. And I'm excited to get to interview some pretty awesome people like Fiona and Steve. So are you two ready to get rolling?
We sure are, I think.
Ready.
All right. Awesome. All right, Fiona, let's start with you. So if you can, I want to hear a little bit about MOLLY MAID and what sets MOLLY MAID apart, but just even going a little bit further back, what does it mean when you say that you're franchise development director? What does that mean for people that have never heard of that term?
Well, what it means is that I work with individuals who are interested in a franchise. So I have lots of different people that call all the time, and they're looking at various opportunities, franchises, and I work with them to see if MOLLY MAID is going to be the right fit for them. But I'm happy because I end up talking with lots of different people about lots of different opportunities, like I said, and maybe MOLLY MAID doesn't work, but then I can answer some questions and kind of direct them, another way if it's not the right fit. So MOLLY MAID is a residential housekeeping service, and we offer service across Canada. So a team of 2 trained individuals go in to clean a customer's home from top to bottom with all the supplies and equipment. They're fully bonded, insured, liable, reference checked, and we offer a premium service, which is 100% guaranteed.
That's amazing. And I know, having had different cleaners over the years, that having sometimes the independence, as much as you want to support an independent cleaner, the inconsistency can be, a problem. And to have the trained and the bonded, and they bring the equipment, that all sounds really amazing. So one side question, I warned you, I might not stay with the questions we talked about. One question I would like to ask is, do you find you get a mix of people who didn't realize they could become a franchisee and some who are shopping for a franchise? Like, we often hear that people are maybe a customer and they're like, I never even realized, but I could do this too.
Absolutely. We get a lot of individuals like from all walks of life, all genders, nationalities, races. I mean, fortunately, we've had a few people actually that have immigrated from different countries and have bought a franchise, which has been so exciting and thrilling for us. But customers for sure, and actually team members that are working and become a franchisee. So again, really, my role is to educate them on the opportunity, what's involved, the obligations are, and really to see if it's the right fit for them and them for us, ultimately. So it's a lot of conversation and discussion.
That's awesome, because I that's one of the things I just get so excited, and I'm sure you both as well, about franchising, is that it provides opportunity for people that didn't realize it was there, and it gets people to be able to do fun and exciting and things and take care of their own livelihood as opposed to working, corporately. So that's awesome. Okay, we're gonna move over to Steve Collette. Steve, my friend, can you talk a little bit about third degree training and what sets you apart? Because there really are a lot of different fitness brands out there, and I know you guys are awesome, but let's make sure that people understand what it is that sets you apart.
No, great. Yeah. And there is a ton of fantastic fitness opportunities. We like to think third degree training is one of them. We are a true unlimited class-based facility. So whenever you're a member, there's no limitations to the classes that you can come to. That's what we do. You don't do anything on your own with third degree training, whether it's you're doing personal training or whether you're doing your classes. It's true unlimited. So there's no limitations that sometimes can kind of get hidden in the small print. Our clientele goes everywhere from our little ninjas class on the weekends right up to our adaptive athletics. So we service the everyday people market, and our market is huge for the people that we want to help with their fitness goals.
Awesome. And I just also want to point out, you're the founder, as we talked about at the beginning here. And so as the founder, and you're an earlier brand. How many units approximately do you guys have?
We have 7 now.
7. So for people that are listening, I love to make sure that people understand that there's a lot of value in an established brand. There's a lot more systems and a lot more sort of feeling of security. But when you're investing in an emerging brand, it's a lot to do with the founder as well. And you look at that founder and go, do I believe in this person? And do I believe in the leadership team? And I think you're awesome. And I know that, I've met other people on your team, and I know that when I've been around you, there's no shortage of burpees. So, so some of what are a couple of the advantages of being an emerging brand for people that might not be thinking about that? Because they often do shy away from that. Just want to highlight that.
Yeah. And there's two sides, there's two sides of the coin. A lot of the time people with an emerging brand, you look at the past, if they've only been around a year, that's a little bit different. We've really honed in on our business model. We didn't try to do explosive growth. Of course, when COVID hit, it slowed down our growth. But with someone getting involved with an emerging brand, you really you're part of the growth process. So our franchise owners that we have, they have such a huge voice, and they're all multi-unit now, right? And so such a huge voice in shaping the way the company's going. I really like that, because when you have a franchise meeting, you're not dictating. If you can believe it, I actually sit back and listen, right? And and have right. It's a tremendous opportunity to get involved with a company like ours and have no matter whereabouts you are in the country, to say, do you believe in, again, the top end C-suite, the model of what's going on, talking to the franchise owners and doing that validation process. One thing I could tell you, we're very pleased now that our validation process is amazing. Right. And so,
maybe just to clarify what that means is that when you talk to other franchisees,
right,
they're validating and saying, yes, this is a good opportunity. So you're saying that probably took a little bit of time to get to that point. So congratulations on that.
It certainly did. Thank you.
Yeah. And I just also want to then, this wasn't the plan, but also, Fiona, I'm guessing that you probably have some kind of a franchise advisory council at Molly Maid. So while maybe not every franchisee or some system for feedback, like it is a little bit, it takes a little bit longer in a bigger system, but there is still, as a franchisee, the opportunity to feel heard. It's just not as direct. Would that be correct how I worded that?
I would say yes and no. One thing I will say about Molly Maid is, we are a bigger company. We have more franchises, but the one thing that I will say we do very well is stay very closely connected through various channels of communication. So, Zoom now, my goodness, we use it all the time, and it's so easy to connect with people, our franchise partners face to face so easily, whether it be in Vancouver and I'm in Ontario or what have you. We also have an intranet portal, part of our website, where we have chat there and the ability for franchisees to connect with one another. We have various newsletters that we distribute across Canada, where we also ask franchise partners to provide information and insights as to what they're doing to be successful. And then we relay it back to the other franchise partners. And we're always looking to develop our brand based on exactly what you were saying, Steve, what the franchisees are telling us that is working and working well. And so we're always adapting our system and trying to make it the best it can be. So I would say that although we're bigger, we do have a franchise advisory committee too. So I think we have 5 on it currently, franchise partners, and everybody knows who they are, so they can go to them if they don't feel comfortable coming to us. But I would say for the most part, our franchise partners connect with us all the time, and everybody feels pretty comfortable to call any of us at the office and, speak their mind as to what's working, what's not working, what they're finding challenging, so on and so forth. So yeah, it's pretty good. But one thing I wanted to mention before we get on, Angela, is I thought it was funny when Steve was talking about, his business and being the founder and, I said, fitness guy. Our CEO, Aaron Abrams, president CEO, he actually at a number of the CFA events, he's an ex-professional athlete. And so he would always go to the gym at like 5 a.m, or I don't know, some crazy hour. I'd still be sleeping. And who would be in the gym? The only other person there? Right. Steve Collette. Yeah.
That's how we met. And then I remember we sat on a panel together. I think it was at Law Day. And, but no, that's how I met Aaron. He was always the only other guy. Everyone at the convention was still asleep. And, anyway, great guy.
Yeah. So that's some dedication right there to your brand.
I feel like I feel like a challenge just got thrown down because I'm usually an early riser as well and like to go to the gym. So now I feel like I'm gonna have to try to meet you guys there at the CFA convention in April.
Set your alarm early, Angela. Set your alarm early.
Yeah, I'm like 5 a.m. Like normally at home, that's no problem. But when you're on the road and you're socializing late at night, having so much fun, it's like that is dedication. So one thing I just wanted to just mention there then, when it comes down to like established versus an emerging brand, is I think it also comes down to the person, whether they want to get in early or do they feel more comfortable with the systems in place and that. And so there's definitely room for both. And I love that. And that's really cool. And I also love, Fiona, when you mentioned, that there's a lot of different avenues for franchisees to connect with the franchisor, but also with each other. I'm a huge advocate for franchisee collaboration because in a franchise system, what's so cool is you've got a built-in network of franchisees people running the same business. So when a franchisor goes out of their way to connect franchisees, that makes me really happy. So I think that's really cool to hear. Okay, let's move on. So again, people that haven't ever thought, oh, I could be a franchisee, or, they don't really understand what am I going to get for this? Let's talk a little bit about the training and support side of things. So Fiona, what training and support does Molly Maid provide franchisees that sets you apart from your competition?
I couldn't really say what sets apart from competition because I'm not exactly sure what they do. But I actually feel we do a fantastic job in terms of training and support. We always, after every training session we always say what worked, what didn't work, what could we improve. We talk to the new franchise partner and ask them. So every time we try to make it better. And we always make small changes. But what we offer is we have 2 weeks of independent learning prior to coming to our support office, which is located in Oakville, Ontario, for 1 week of intensive on-site personal training. And that 1 week, the whole training actually encompasses and highlights all aspects of the business. So whether it be, customer and team member scheduling or administration, marketing, health and safety. I mean, it encompasses everything about our system. Plus, we really do focus on our core cleaning system as well. So as well as that, every franchise partner is assigned one franchise coach who works one-on-one with that individual. Now, that doesn't mean that, the new franchisees or franchise partners can't call any of us, because they can at any time and ask any of us questions. But what that allows is that one franchise coach is able to really stay connected with that franchise partner and know what that person's individual goals are, their aspirations, where they're at in their business, and really stay closely connected to help them achieve success. So we really like that. And then, as I mentioned earlier, communication to us is imperative. So we have all those different means and methods of communication for our whole support office team. And then on top of that, we have meetings, regional meetings, and we have national convention, and then of course our intranet. So we're constantly trying to, continually develop the skills, as well as we use an external source to help with employee and employer challenges. Yes, so we have a system that we work with that. And then on top of that, if there are any other areas that we're not able to provide, it's out of our scope really, then we do offer to pay 50% of the cost for that training. So that could mean like online business resources, or any other kind of training that is related to operating a small business. So we go kind of above and beyond to make sure if we don't have it, we're going to help you find someone who does have it and help you pay for it.
That's incredible. I'm blown away. This is awesome.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing is a really robust training and ongoing support. And I always talk about, some franchisors have franchise companies. It's kind of more hotline support where they have our number, they can call us, we've got a good, operations manual they can use. But that's not really enough. Like, you are coaching and guiding. And when you mentioned, their personal goals, that's fantastic. I really love hearing that, and that you're developing their skills. Those things are all awesome. I still want to ask Steve the same question, but I know that we have some meaty innovation questions coming up. So I'm going to switch over to Steve on the topic of what characteristics you look for in a franchisee. Because I know, like, it's an interesting thing. People think, oh, I can do that. And how do you know somebody's going to be a good fit as a franchisee? What are you looking for that you will know this person is most likely to be successful?
Well, certainly, if you asked me that question 5 years ago, it'd be different.
Yeah, you learned a lot.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, that's our job as franchisors, is to say, okay, is it? We don't sell franchises. I like to say we award futures, right? And there is characteristics that you have to look for. The big one, the 4-letter word that I use in anything, is grit. You have to grit. The ability or the want, and grit's not something you can teach. You either have it or you don't, right? And so I think it's important with anything where you're trying to attain a certain goal, but that is the big one. We need hunters and farmers. Acquisition and retention is important. So it's not just about getting new people in, it's keeping the people in the doors. And we have honed in on that. Oh man. And so you can teach that, certain aspects of it, but you have to have that characteristic and you have to have that ability. You have to be able to build good teams, because you can't do it yourself. That was our problem in the past. We used to award fitness franchises to fitness instructors. Let's
pause on that for a quick second. I'm so glad you brought that up, because that happens a lot where people think I'm really a good fitness instructor, so I'm going to be a good fitness business owner. So yeah, if you want to go a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think that, and what happens is teaching classes is the fun part, the easy part. In fact, if you own a 3rd degree training, you're teaching all the classes, you're not running your business properly, right? So a good employee, employees can clock in and clock out and then go home, and, but with a 3rd degree, especially your first couple of years as you're getting going, because you can clean the floors, or because you can do the burpees, or teach some classes, does not mean that you're going to run a successful business. I think a lot of early stage franchisors go through that, where, that internal optimism that says, well, they're a great employee, or they're great this, so we'll go on to that. It's looking at it from a very objective standpoint of, who is your customer? How do you reach them? How do you keep them? And because your customer is your business. And as far as teaching the classes, doing the training, you want to develop really good teams in order to do that, because your job is making sure that everyone is happy.
I love that. And I talk a lot about the DNA of a high performing franchisee, and you hit on a couple really key traits there. So the grit, the hunter gatherer, however you were a hunter farmer. So you're going to go out and you're going to get people, you're going to go into your community. And then I always say, they have to be a good leader. You don't have to be a good entrepreneur that knows everything, but how are you with leading a team of people? And I learned that the hard way with M&M, when I was a 25-year-old franchisee, founder's daughter. Nobody took me seriously. How do I get these people to listen to me and be motivated I don't want to be authoritative. I want them to want to listen to me and to be excited to be there. And I learned a lot though in those days. So I love that you brought that up. it's important to reflect on that as a franchisee. If you really don't like the idea of leading people, or if you've say been a manager of a fast food place and you hated that, reflect on that. But at the same time, I know that you offer support. You'll teach people leadership. You'll teach them these things. Like you say, grit, you can't really teach. That's got to be there.
Right. And just one, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Steve.
I was just going to say one, Angela, and then one last point with that is when in entrepreneurship, when you're becoming a franchise owner and you're building your team, you don't necessarily have to be right all the time. In fact, being wrong and being taught is awesome in building teams, right? When you add that value and you really engage them in that. So,
yeah, I would say one thing too that I'll just chime in here is that when I'm speaking with candidates that are coming in, it's hard to know if someone's going to be the right fit or what's going to make the perfect franchisee. But one thing I can say is there are entrepreneurs, right, and that have entrepreneurial spirit and that are going to become very successful as franchisees. But there are also entrepreneurs that will not make successful franchisees. And when I'm speaking with candidates, I always say, if you want to come up with your own, uniform, you want to come up with your own marketing, you want to do things your own way, that's awesome. Good for you. Go start your own business. Listen, I encourage you to do that. And I hope you have great success. But if you want to come in and follow our brand and follow our system and really embrace that, then you're going to have great success. But if you're an entrepreneur that wants to do your own thing, then just please, this is not going to work. I think that's one thing that I always try to educate people on, because not everybody that calls typically is an entrepreneur, but it's whether they're an entrepreneur that wants to be part of a system or if they're an entrepreneur that wants their own thing. I think that's really one thing that I really encourage people to consider for sure.
That's fantastic. And oh, wow, that was just really insightful for me to think about that, because when I was a franchisee, I'm pretty entrepreneurial, but in my case, I think it worked because I knew that the system worked, and I had trained people on the M&M Meat Shop system, and I trained franchisees, and I'd held them to compliance in a strategic way, of course, in a compassionate way, but I knew the importance of it. So it was easier for me to accept when there were things that I didn't agree with. And you can, if you, like you say, if you're entrepreneurial, but you understand, I'm going to buy into this system, you recognize that there's times that it's a bit of a give and take. Sometimes it's going to benefit you, the decisions that get made. Sometimes you might not understand it, but you chose to be in a system. And so I really like how you put that.
I would also say, Angela, the other thing too is, our systems, they're proven, and we're always, like even Steve said, we're always looking to make it better. So it's not like we're not going to ever change. We're just, certain aspects of the system have to stay the same. Your branding, for example, for the most part, because that's what customers recognize. So I will say that a lot of individuals I speak with, we talk about that, and then they're like, yeah, I don't want to come up with all that stuff. I don't want to work that hard. I want to come in, have that stuff done for me. And then I come in and I'm going to run my own business. I'm going to work hard and I'm going to be successful, and I'm going to embrace this brand because that's what I'm bought into. And then you see them grow and be successful, and it's like, wow, this is awesome. Right. So it's just making sure it's the right fit, again, is so important. For sure, I would say that would be number one, in terms of when I'm working with candidates.
Awesome.
There's lots of different options. Someone I can talk to, maybe Molly Maid isn't the right fit for them. Maybe it is Steve's business, and that's the other thing, is making sure we actually will, not qualify quite a number of candidates because it's not the right fit, and we're not just going to take a check from someone because, we want to sell a franchise. We don't do that ever, because it's not good for them. And it's not good for us, and it's not going to be win-win. So they'll get into business and they won't be successful. They'll lose money, we'll lose money. So at the end of the day, the one thing I can say for anyone that's interested is take your time, do your research, look at lots of brands, and figure out what you love to do and be happy. Because if you love what you're doing, you're going to be successful ultimately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. And it's also not fair to the other franchisees, because you've got to protect their investment if you bring in somebody who's not a fit. So yeah, it's all about protecting the investment and that. So that's awesome. We're going to switch now to innovation. We're going to get into that a little bit. And so I'm going to go to Steve first on this. I'd love to know, you've how many years has third degree training been in business?
Oh, okay. We've been in business for 10, a little over 10. I haven't been franchising that long, obviously, but yeah. So yeah, about 10 years.
Okay, can you share some example of innovation, whether it's related to the pandemic or anything that you've done to stay innovative with the brand?
Right. Yeah, no, great question. Well, as we all know, you could argue it, but fitness is not considered essential. So when pandemic hit, you had to move swiftly, harshly, and do something now. So we did. We had to. So we put a lot of emphasis onto our online portals, and because of the way we operate our classes, it was easier to do so as opposed to someone who uses some proprietary equipment or whatever it may be, right? So we were live 6 hours a day. Like we were literally live 6 hours a day, and to really hone in and make sure that, and we developed all sorts of new accountability programs. So that's when we were closed, right? And then when we were allowed to reopen, we really looked at it and said, let's take a hard look at our system. So we looked at our branding, we did a whole brand over, and then we added all sorts of programming to our system. And we looked at it from kind of the multi-generational, why are these kids going to an after school program over here where they don't like, let's do an after school program. Let's do the toddlers program. Let's really get into the adaptive athletics or people, whether they're elderly or they have mobility issues. So we really added a lot to third degree training, and it just went like this, right? So the innovative that we had to do, the way I kind of look at things, it's if you get pushed, don't push back, punch. So it was go hard, and but the innovation, I mean, COVID certainly wasn't friendly for fitness, but if you look back at it, I'm a true optimist, and at least it allowed us to have the company that we have now.
Awesome. And I remember thinking, like, I wouldn't want to get on a call with, well, I shouldn't say I wouldn't want to, but you'd be more motivated when you're already a member or you're already connected to that brand. So, and I love it. It's almost like you were like, well, we got to help our community, right?
Yep.
Like we got to do something for these people that have been coming and getting their exercise from us. What can we do? So you just service them the best way you could. And it sounds like it went really well. Well,
and we continued. What happened? We kept the retention, right? We kept it. We were so touchy-feely that, we didn't see these people for 3 months, but we seen them and people exercised in third degree training more over COVID when they were at home than when it went back. What else are you going to do? So we literally 6 hours a day, and it was fun. It was fun. It was different, but yeah. Awesome. Okay. So Fiona, let's hear about some innovation. And actually, maybe I'll go right to what the neighborhood franchise model. Are you able to speak to that? And if you can talk about whether that was a result of the pandemic or was that something you already had in the works? I'll just let you share all that.
Sure. Just before I get started though, Angela, for me, 6 hours of exercise a day would not be good.
Don't wake me up at 5 a.m. and don't make me exercise for 6 hours.
This is not the exercise girl for 6 hours. I know you could do it because so sorry, the neighborhood brand or neighborhood model, I should say, is a new concept for Molly Maid. And we're very excited to roll it out this past summer. And it wasn't necessarily a result of the pandemic. We had been talking about it for quite some time. We have annual meetings with our whole team. And it was during one of these annual meetings that the concept emerged. And so we kind of started talking about it, trying to figure out, the best way to bring it forward and bring it to market. And then it just so happened it was actually during the pandemic that we decided to roll it out. So we were very fortunate as a brand and company that we were able to continue to operate during the pandemic because we were deemed an essential service. So we did shut down when there was the countrywide shutdown, and we adapted and we brought in a healthy home cleaning system to ensure that we were following the proper protocols and procedures and guidelines as rolled out across the different provinces. And certainly, again, through Zoom, we were very closely connected, similar to what Steve was saying, very closely connected to our franchise partners, who then were very closely connected with their customers and really focused on retention of the customers as well, depending on their feeling, of ease of having us into their home. So we decided that it was still a great time to roll out our new neighborhood model concept, and we rolled it out. And what it is it's a small market model. So Molly Maid has been providing professional home cleaning services for over 40 years. And but mainly it's in the more urban and suburban markets. So not so much in the rural or smaller communities and smaller populated areas. And our traditional model concept is more of a kind of an executive model. And what I mean by that is that the owner operator does not clean. They're not actually out there, going into homes and cleaning. They're working with their teams and they're building the business, right? So they're really working on the business versus in it. So what we thought would be awesome is to be able to provide our same professional service in these smaller markets. For 40 years, I'm sure there's some customers in these markets who have been thinking, oh, I love Molly Maid, but I just have Betty Sue. So, I have to go with what I've got. So what we did is we identified the markets that we felt could be viable for this type of franchise. And now we're rolling it out to those specific markets. So with this model, the franchise partner from day one can start earning an income because they will clean as well as operating the business. And so we've adapted our system to help fit that model.
Wow, that's really neat. And how long has that been? Started right before the pandemic and then throughout. So
we just rolled it out at the end of the summer. So we started rolling it out in, I think it was August, and kind of getting it out there and getting marketing and advertising out. And right now I'm working with a few individuals, one specifically, but it looks like he's probably going to move forward with the opportunity. So it will be our first neighborhood model in Canada, hopefully in Alberta. So we're really excited, and he's excited too. So it'll be our first small market. So it's very exciting.
Awesome. And so let's talk a little bit about now. So that, I guess that doesn't impact the franchisees, the existing franchisees so much. What about, and maybe Steve, I'll go over to you for this question. When you do want to make a change in the system that you're choosing to make, let's just clarify, the pandemic forced some changes.
Right.
But say you want to make a change, rebranding of some sort or anything that you're trying to make a change. How do you introduce that innovation to the system in light of the fact that some franchisees might be uncomfortable with change, or in other words, how do you create buy-in?
Great. No, it's a great question. And it's there's a difference between objective and subjective, right? And what we don't do is whenever you cause a change in your system, it's not because I want to do this. It's because this is what's best for business. So rather than start with the conclusion and say, we're changing here, you validate the premise of the argument to go, here it is. And what's your thoughts and what's your concerns? Not on the conclusion, but on why we're doing this. And then having an open discussion saying, this is what we see. Sometimes there's some things that corporately will run, on a trial to see if it works. So, save everyone's time. But a lot of the time, we haven't had a whole lot of pushback. And if you're going to have changes in the system, the last couple of years was the time to do it. We're very open with it, and really saying, do you understand this, and are you comfortable, and what's your concerns with this? And then a lot of time when you do it, if someone does have a concern, and it doesn't happen usually with us, it's a subjective thing where they don't like it based on emotion rather than the logic to run the business. So it's you learn how to do it better as you go when you want to instill a change, because let's be honest, a lot of people don't like change, right? And it throws them off their kilter a little bit, right? If Fiona, you could probably certainly attest to that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, change is hard for anyone, and I know we're actually rolling out a new lead management system. So technology, and some people are stronger in technology than others. And so it can be a bit of a challenge. So what I was going to say is that, Angela, the word that you use, which I thought was bang on, is buy-in. So typically what we try to do is when we're rolling something out, we try to roll it out to who we feel will be our early adopters or people who we feel are going to do well with it. So in this case, technology, they enjoy it, they like it. So we'll roll it out to them first. And then we get them to be really the brand ambassador for that, whatever it is we're rolling out. So then all of a sudden, then we get adoption from the other franchisees because it's not support office or Molly Maid corporate that's saying it. It's the franchise partners that are using it that are having success with it. So then they get that buy-in. So typically that's what we find that really helps us in terms of rolling anything out. Because you're right, Steve, gosh, change is tough, right? And some people really dig their heels in and they say, oh, I just want to keep it the way it is. But we all know that sometimes to improve and make things better, you do have to change, right?
I've heard that the mind can only calculate what it's losing, but can't calculate what it's potentially gaining when it doesn't know. So it's the unknowns. I think we have to be compassionate about that. And I love what you both said there. So just to kind of really highlight, Steve, you mentioned, and probably Molly Maid does this as well, where you corporately, like your own corporate locations that are not franchisees. You've probably usually, most systems have a couple of those, and you test it there. So we'll be the guinea pig. And then, like Fiona said, a few franchisees that are willing to be guinea pigs as well, are willing to adopt it, maybe a little bit more risk tolerant, and have them start to get some evidence that this is a good thing to do, and then start to get the franchisee. So you're creating buy-in. So I like that because it protects the people that are a little bit afraid. And I've been a franchisee. I was a franchisee for 18 years. And sometimes I did not agree with the things that were happening, and I had to accept it. I've also been, so when you mentioned technology, I've been on both the franchisor side, bringing out new technology, a new POS system, point of sale. And I've been the franchisee having to adopt the new POS system. And so I've been on the side of, here's why this is a great thing to do. And here's what's so great about this POS. And then I've been on the side going, what happened to this feature? What happened to that feature? But then there's this greater good of the system that they would, remind me, and I'd remember, and that, there's a reason, there's other reasons we had to change. So it's a lot. Like Steve said this as well. I think that it's helping them understand the reason. Don't start with, here's what we're going to do, and here's why. Start with, here's a problem in the system or something we're trying to get better at. Here's a solution. That's really cool.
I think the what's in it for me, like if we always try to sit back and, when we're communicating, whatever it is we're rolling out, we always try to sit back and say, okay, really, what is it in it for me? If I was the franchise partner, how is this going to benefit me? Exactly what Steve's saying. I think that is the most important selling feature, right?
Absolutely. We all really, at the end of the day, we just care about, we care about what's in it for us and how's it going to affect me. And that's fair. Right. And I think we have to remember that with franchisees, that there is a fair request. They invested their often life savings into this business, and they're believing in you. And then when you're telling them, we're making this change, it's like, well, that's scary. I didn't realize I signed up for that. So,
and we also always run it by our FAC, the Franchise Advisory Committee too, as a starting point. So that usually helps as well.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to try to squeeze in one last question. I just would love to know how you tap into the wisdom of your franchisees on the front line to drive innovation. A lot of people know that the Big Mac was an idea from a franchisee, even the drive-through. You don't want to stifle that. So maybe Steve, can you speak to how you tap into that innovation or tap into that frontline wisdom that's out there?
Love it. I think that when you look at it, your franchisees are your system, right? And we're fortunate. We just had a really good operator, really good franchise partner come into our system. And what a great fresh set of eyes to come in and go, okay, what's wrong with it? What do you think? And then literally in the past 7 weeks, we talked about this. Now we have a franchise meeting tomorrow, which we're going to have some stuff we're going to talk about. But you throw it out there and go, what's the concerns? What would you like to see? Tap into them, because they and it helps your relationship so much. And rather than go in saying, I'm right. No, I'm not. I'm the founder. What do I know? Right. And you look at it and you just bring that out of your franchise partner. Again, with a company our size, as opposed to with hundreds of units, little bit different. Go, everyone tell us what you want.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different, right? So I won't speak on behalf of Fiona, but that's what we do. I really look at it now with our franchise partners. They're wonderful and they are our future.
That's amazing. And Fiona, do you want to add into that before we wrap up?
I mean, I would say the same thing, Steve. I mean, I know we have a few more franchise partners, but we do love to hear from them. Exactly what I had said earlier is on their success, what's working for them, what they find challenging, and then make changes to our system accordingly. The other thing is we do have a corporate franchise. And so, we're very closely connected with that franchise. I actually oversee that as well. So I have a real close connections to find out what's happening on the front line. And so we can also see like, hey, maybe that's not working and we need to change or adapt based on that close connection. So I do think having all the open lines of communication at our regional meetings, we have roundtables, discussions where we open it up for them to share and feedback. And that provides us with a lot of insight and allows us to adapt and innovate from there.
You nailed it.
Yeah, you're really missing out if you don't. I think, but one caveat I always like to say is if you're going to open up that door of to that feedback is we can do anything, but we can't do everything, right? Like we're going to listen and we're going to assess whether we have the resources and whether it makes sense, or we might let you test it or something, right? But also understanding that when you're in a franchise, you're in a system and decisions have to be made very strategically, I guess. So this has been awesome. I don't know about you two, but this time just flew by.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great. It was great.
I had a blast.
Yeah.
Again sometime.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, so much insight, so many insights and so much wisdom from both of you. And so cool to hear the contrast between a newer brand and an established brand. No doubt you both have so much expertise to share. And I feel even more confident that people that become franchisees of your brands are, if they get in, they're the right fit and they're going to have great leaders and really do well. So thank you so much, both of you, for the interview today.
Thanks, Angela. It was awesome.
Always a pleasure.